And so Saturday practice, I told the guys, it's going to be uncomfortable. The meeting is going to be uncomfortable. I'm not doing another 53 games like this. It's a matter of making the choice. And too often we have guys that don't want to make that choice.
This is the Los Angeles Lakers. They go through coaches like they go through tissue paper. So is this what JJ is doing? Is he taking the Phil Jackson approach and putting everything, on Front Street? We should have wiped the floor with these guys. We are a better team than that. And so when you're not giving the effort that I know that you can give and you're not executing on things, of course I'm going to be upset. Like, what are we doing this for? Hey, what's good, everyone? Welcome back to the Big Game Podcast. My name is Gabe. In today's video, we're going to be reacting to a clip of JJ Redick, who is the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, and he's responding to a question from a journalist who's asking about the Lakers' effort. And I think there's some helpful tidbits for coaches of all ages, recreation, high school, college, developmental, competitive, whatever it is, that we can take away from his response. And then I'm going to give my thoughts on it. So we're going to play it through fully, and then we're going to jump into it. Okay, but before we do that, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we're dropping content like this every week, and hit that notification bell so you know when the next video drops. Let's get into it. All right, y'all. So we're going to start here with a little time elapsed. There was a question about Austin Reeves, but we don't need to listen to that. We're going to listen to now the question specifically on the Lakers' attitude, effort, things like that. And just for a little context, this is right after a loss to the Houston Rockets. They pretty much got blown out, especially on the boards. They couldn't get a rebound. And this is not just a one-time thing. Apparently, it's been a habit. I'm not too concerned with the actual game flow. So if you're here for that, sorry, that's not what it's about. It's more about the coaching mentality and then how we approach those things with our players. And so JJ is a pretty fiery guy. He carries his emotions on his sleeve, and I think that's important. I think that's good if that's the style of coach that he is. And he's going to keep these guys accountable. And there's things to be said about this for sure, but I think there's a lot of nuggets that we could glean from them. So enough talking. I'm going to go ahead and play it. Let's hear it.
What did you see overall in the game, kind of starting in that first quarter on the glass and in the turnovers, and how that prevailed through it?
Yeah, the two words of the day were effort and execution. And, I feel like when we've done both of those things at a high level, we've been a good basketball team. When we haven't, we're a terrible basketball team. And tonight we were a terrible basketball team. And that started legitimately right away.
Can I just pause and comment there? Because JJ does not hold any punches. And he will tell it like it is. I'm assuming right to your face, and I'm obviously to the public, right? To this journalist, to the world, really, because obviously it's on YouTube. So effort, and execution. Those are the two big things right there. A lot of our coaching today for younger people is mostly attitude and effort. Those are the things that you can control. But there is also that execution, right? And as we start getting more competitive and we are, competing for higher stakes, we do need to execute. They are in the professional ranks. They need to execute. These are standards that we should start implementing to certain teams based on their skill and maturity level, their experience level. So that's really important. Execution and effort. He's going to really hone in on the effort portion, though, which is very important. Let's see what he has to say.
When you point to that, I mean, I would assume they have offensive rebounds in their first two misses, a thing that I would imagine you talked about a lot. Well, as a coach, what does that feel like when you're on the sideline and you've keyed in on something and within 48 seconds it goes?
Yeah, it doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter how I feel.
Well, why do you think your team was unable to execute the things that it was tasked with?
Because we don't care enough right now. And that's the part that bothers you a lot. We don't care enough to do the things that are necessary. We don't care enough to be a professional. It's, we had it. This is, I always say this about, culture. I always say this about a team being a good team being a functioning organism. It can change like that. We don't have it right now.
Let's pause right there because obviously it doesn't seem like he is harping too much on the execution piece. The Lakers are an offensive juggernaut. Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, amazing. On the defensive end, maybe not so much, right? LeBron is 40. Luka doesn't really play too much defense. Austin Reeves is okay at times, right? So is he talking about those three? I don't know. Again, that's not what we're here to discuss primarily. We're here to discuss the coaching tactics in this. Why is he doing this? Why is he announcing this to the world? I mean, there's a couple of things. Number one, you're either announcing this to the world because you've already had these internal conversations for a couple of months now. The season's already a couple of months in. Maybe you just do it because you like doing it, and this is the way your coaching style is, and this you think is going to motivate your troops, right? Calling them out, holding them accountable, putting that before the world. Also them holding you accountable now, right? But the effort portion, them not wanting to give that effort is what he's claiming. That's a big no-no. That for coaches, like, look, if we get our tails whipped because we gave effort and we executed to the best of our ability, I get that. Like, let's go out on our shield. You know what I mean? But if I know what your true effort looks like and you're not giving that, we got a problem. We got a big problem. Like, what are we actually here to do? Do you care enough about this? And I think what he's referring to is effort on the defensive end, effort on the boards. That takes a lot of energy. Offense takes a lot of energy too. You're moving around, lots of pieces, blah, blah, blah. But going after loose balls, scrapping, boxing out, getting positioning for rebounds, that takes a lot of energy. And if you're not willing to lay that all on the line and give 100% effort, then what are we actually doing here? And it sounds like they had the game of the bag. I don't remember the game too much, but it sounds like they had the game of the bag, but they gave up in those little areas, which had a big impact later on. So your effort is huge, not just in one aspect of the game, but in all aspects of the game. And so for coaches, middle school, high school, elementary school, college, whatever it is, those are things that's one big thing that we want to see from our players is great effort. And that is something that is controllable. You can control how much effort you put in. You can't control how much effort your teammate puts in, but you can control how much effort you put in. Again, one of the things that coaches are always talking about to younger players without the execution, we'll get to that later, is attitude and effort. You should be able to control both of those things. Those things are both in your control. There's the game that's outside of your control at times. You can't always plan for all the anomalies and variations and these factors that you didn't factor in maybe. But you can control your attitude and your effort, especially if you're getting your butt whipped too. You can control it then because you can control it when obviously winning. So the effort portion is monumental. If there's any players listening to this and you're struggling to give effort, well, let me help you with a little bit of motivation. Why you would want to give effort on the team that you're currently on. Number one, you want to do it for yourself. You want to make sure that you are giving your full effort, especially if it's a competitive team, okay? Now, if it's like a rec league and we're just kind of playing for fun, there's grades to this. There's levels of effort that we can put into it. When I go to 24 sometimes and I'm hooping, there's sometimes a lot of effort that I give depending on the competition level and not so much effort I give depending on the competition level. So there is that factor. But if you're playing on a competitive team and you're trying to compete and win something, right? You're trying to execute, you should be giving enough effort. You should be giving your full effort because number one, for you, right? For you said you wanted this. You said you're going to put yourself in this position. You shouldn't have, half ASS it, right? It's not the channel we do this on. So that's number one. Number two, you owe it to your team. You owe it to your teammates, okay? Especially if the culture is effort, you should be giving great effort. Now, look, sometimes during a season, it gets tough. there are certain attitudes and, things that happen. Apparently, in the professional, it's a business too, right? So there's that aspect. Look at Jimmy Butler when he wanted out of Miami. It didn't look like there was a lot of effort going into there, Maybe that was part of his strategy. So there is that factor. I'm not even going to speak on that because I don't know too much about it. But, to harp on the effort piece just a little bit more, you can control that and you can give your best foot forward. And I think you're going to see the results. And even in a loss, you can see that there's effort, right? And you'll get frustrated when people are not giving effort. You'll be like, what are you doing? I'm over here running my butt up and down the court, whatever it is, the field of arena you play, and you're not? You got me messed up. What you talking about? You ain't going to be putting in the same amount of effort that I am, okay? And let's just say you're the captain, okay? Or let's just say that other person is the captain. They ain't putting in the same amount of effort. Oh, man, they got to go sit down. They got to go sit down. So I think we're going to get into that, but I think that's huge. That's huge for players. And obviously, as a coach, you want to see that. All right, let's keep them playing. Let's let them cook.
JJ, and as you talk about today's modern basketball, you guys have 2 days off, but I'm guessing you guys are only going to practice once. How do you improve on these things when you can't practice enough?
Oh, we practice them all the time. It's not, again, it goes back to where I said the other night. It's a matter of making the choice. And too often we have guys that don't want to make that choice.
Pause. They apparently talk about this all the time, even in the limited practices that they have, right? It's not something that's a new concept. That, don't get that mistaken. The effort, the execution, the attitude, the choice, that has been spoken about probably ad nauseum already. This is what we do in our preseason meetings. This is the team who we're going to be. This is the culture that we're going to set. And so I think what's important here for all coaches is sometimes, as a mentor of mine used to say, we don't need to be taught something new. We just need to be reminded. And so this looks like a coach reminding his players who they are and what the culture is. Maybe words have fallen on deaf ears in the locker room, right? Because apparently it's still going on from his comments. And now I need to bring it out to the world. I need to put that little bit of pressure. Now, this is a couple of days after this interview. So they just played against, who was it? They played against someone and they whooped them. Oh, Sacramento. They beat Sacramento. So apparently something sank in, right? Now let's just see if they can hold on to this consistency and they can continue to make this choice night after night after night. It's not easy. LeBron's 40. If you want him to be your stalwart, your cornerstone of defense, he's not going to be that, right? You might have to put him on a minutes restriction so that you can save him for the postseason. But Luka's going to have to step up. The rest of the players are going to have to step up, apparently, from what he's saying, right? There's conversations about that. He didn't bring up those names, but he does call out somebody without saying their name. Anyways, let's continue.
And it's pretty consistent who those guys are. And so Saturday practice, I told the guys, it's going to be uncomfortable. The meeting is going to be uncomfortable. I'm not doing another 53 games like this.
He's frustrated. Someone said, I forgot who said it, I think it was Rashad McCants from Gales Arena, that he's in his White House tour. He's in his President Obama tour. He's going to come out of coaching the Lakers 10 years older. You could see it on him, man. But he cares. And I think that's what you want from a coach. You want a coach that cares tremendously. And especially for this organization, this is not, let's see, what's a small market organization? This is not Minnesota. This is not Oklahoma City. This is not the Sacramento Kings. This is the Los Angeles Lakers. They go through coaches like they go through tissue paper. Here one day, gone the next. And so you better be putting everything on the line, right? So, his job, right? He has to put forth effort, right? And I think that's who he is anyway. If you listen to his podcast before he became the coach, this is who JJ is. And I appreciate that. And so I want to focus in on one thing. He said at Saturday's practice, we need to have a meeting. And this is what we need to do sometimes with our team when we notice that we're maybe off course, is we need to have a come to Jesus moment. We need to have this meeting to where we are going over our current performance, our strengths and our weaknesses, and we are holding people accountable in those meetings, right? Holding myself accountable, the coaching staff accountable, and then also the players accountable. And sometimes it's going to be conflict oriented. Like, it's not going to be comfortable because now we are pointing to specific things that we notice, that we have film on, that we've talked about, and they're not being executed, right? We're going to call people out. This is the organization that they're part of. This is what professional sports looks like, or it should look like, right? And so, look, should this stuff be kept in the locker room? I'd say yes, probably to a certain extent. But what if it has already been talked about ad nauseum and it's just not sinking in? A new tactic may have to be tried, right? And is he talking to the whole team? Maybe. Is he talking to certain individuals who maybe he understands their psychology, what motivates them, what pushes them? Because there's also that component. I mean, Phil Jackson famously did this with Kobe and with Shaq. I think also with Jordan, is that sometimes he wouldn't even address them in the locker room. He would address them in the media. And he'd use that as a tactic to motivate them to, understand what drives them or what's going to get the best performance out of them. And then he would do that same thing. So is this what JJ is doing? Is he taking the Phil Jackson approach and putting everything, on Front Street, right? Maybe. But to go back to that meeting, especially for competitive teams out there, what should these meetings look like? I've had a couple of these meetings with a couple of my teams in the past where we do have a mid-season, not even a mid-season, but just like an in-season meeting where we have to really go deep on some issues and we need to get these things figured out. And if we can't get them figured out, then rotations are going to change. Roster spots are going to change. It just is what it is. That's sports. It could be super conflictive. It can come away with hurt feelings, but I think if you do it the right way and everyone's on board, you can come away with some positive benefits. Obviously, they came back and destroyed the Kings. So that's that. Let's see if they can keep it up. I don't know what the point spread was or the specific statistics on rebounds and defensive effort things and things like that. But, apparently they were able to get it together. So he was also fed up. I'm not doing another 53 seasons like this. Or he didn't say 53 seasons. He said, I'm not doing another 53 games like this. Like, is he going to quit? I don't know. Is that what he's insinuating? No, I think he's just fed up and like, look, we're not doing this anymore. And he's nipping it in the butt ASAP, right? We're not even in a new year. We're not even at All-Star break yet, but he's nipping it in the butt. I think that's really good. Let's keep cooking.
Pre-game, you mentioned a stretch in March of last season where you thought maybe this was a little similar, or at least the feeling of it was similar. Was there anything that you recall that your team did to get out of it, to kind of get the momentum back that could be replicable in this situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think every group is different, and the circumstances of trying to get out of it, I think, are different. I wish I had a good answer to that question because I think it's a fair and valid question. It's hard because each individual guy is at a different space, so it's you're trying to get all of the individuals to function as a team, and you got to address what's going on right now. And it's hard to draw parallels. Does that make sense? Yeah.
All right. Pause right there. I think that's so key, especially when rosters have changed, lineups have changed, new people have come in. You can't necessarily look back at what you've done in the past, how they got out of it, because they're different groups. Also different motivations, a year in, a little bit older, a little bit, more experience, and maybe more wear on the tires, right? Some more mileage. So yes, you can kind of look back at how they got out of certain funks back then and try those tactics and encourage them that way. But you might have to take an entirely new tact depending on who the group is. Not every group is the same. Not every individual is the same. So we need to kind of figure that out. I think you should know the characteristics of your players, what drives them, what motivates them, how you can push them. Not every player is going to respond the same way to one style of coaching. You might have to stroke the ego of one player, and you might just have to tell one player, hey, I need you to do this, X, Y, and Z, and they'll run through a brick house for you. There's many examples of this in youth sports and in high school sports in particular. I remember when I was coaching my girls' high school lacrosse team, there were girls that were bruisers. They were just like animals, savages, in a good way, of course. And then there were some girls that were just so sweet and so kind, and they couldn't hurt a fly. And we needed them to be a little bit more aggressive. And how I coached them kind of differed because not everyone comprehended the same way. Some girls needed me to be very stern and authoritative. Hey, I need you to do this right now. They needed clear, concise instruction. Everybody got that, but they needed it more in their face. I need you to really hear me on this. So you got to understand personalities. A coach, a friend of mine, always told me, KYP, know your personnel, right? And other girls, I would just say, hey, can you do this for me? Can you get this done? Yes, coach, got you, done. That was it. So is that what he's dealing with? Obviously, he has maybe 15 people on the roster. You're going to have to deal with different personalities. That's so important. You can't approach it all one way, right? I'm not saying be fake and give this person favor and not favor. And now all of a sudden we see, resentment and just anger because they feel like you're coaching them and you're giving them a pass and things no, it's not that. I got to know my personnel and I got to craft a game plan to get the best out of you, right? That's what coaching is. There's a lot of psychology in this thing, right? You got to understand personalities. You got to understand what drives people, what motivates people, right? Let's look at Dennis Rodman and let's look at Michael Jordan. Two very different personalities, right? Go watch The Last Dance for Michael Jordan. What did he say when Rodman was going through his thing? Just go let him do it. Let him do it, and when he's ready, he'll come back, right? You couldn't coach him the same way. Jordan maybe gave him a little bit of a pass because Rodman was just so different, but he came back and then performed, right? So there is that. And I think if we're not willing to give certain passes, not passes, I don't want to say passes, but if we're not able to look at the motivations and the character, the personality of our players and come up with the right game plan for them, I think we're missing certain opportunities. So, that's what JJ's going through, and that was a fair question that the journalist asked. We'll see what happens throughout the season. I'm rooting for them. Lakers, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I'm in LA. I'm a Lakers fan. I'm a Clippers fan. Don't let me even get started on the Clippers. Let's finish up the rest of this.
JJ, you mentioned the lack of care factor right now. Is there anything, whether it's you or your coaching staff, is care factor coachable, or is that just either have it or you don't?
No, I think guys will say they want to win. The care factor to me is do I care enough to actually do what I'm supposed to do? And that's really what the championship habits are, and that's what we don't have right now.
If you're saying, you said earlier, it's the same guys not executing, does that just come down to, look, if you don't do it now, your rotation spot?
We've given everybody a chance.
We've given everybody a chance. That's his last words. So he said it without saying it. Look, we've talked to everybody. I had a conversation with my wife, this is getting into more of the tactics. Let's just say it is Luka in his defensive effort. Do you bench him while you just lose 30 points? I don't know if you do that. It's a business. Do you kind of just build around him? If he is the issue on the defensive end, right? I don't know about that. But, lots of good nuggets to take away from this. You see a coach that's very frustrated, and it's okay to be frustrated as a coach. It shows you care. I remember there was a game in which we lost to a team that we shouldn't have lost to. And I was just so frustrated, and I was just so mad because I know my team can perform better than this. I know that they can do better. And it was after the game, and some parents wanted to talk to me or say hello. I didn't want to talk to nobody. Don't talk to me. I put my shades on. I'm walking out. I already talked to my team. We already had our words. We're going to talk about it later. We're going to get our things together. But I don't want to talk to nobody. I get that. Okay. And so when people come up and they're giving these interviews, right, this is what they see. Like, this is live emotion. This is live frustration. Now, maybe we should be a little bit more, what's the word I'm thinking of? Holding having a little bit more restraint in what we give. But I think it's important at times to let your players see that, let the world see that, let your coaching programs or your program see that, because it shows that you care. And so, and it's not caring without a lack of a plan, right? It sounds like he has a plan, or they've been trying to execute on one. But yeah, I would just recall that. Like, I don't want to talk to nobody. I just want to focus on my team. We should have wiped the floor with these guys. We're a better team than that. And so when you're not giving the effort that I know that you can give, and you're not executing on things, of course I'm going to be upset. Like, what are we doing this for? Are we just, lollygagging and spending time doing nothing? What are we even doing this for? What is your motivation? You say you want to win, but you're not choosing to do the little things that is going to get us to that win. Anyways, I digress. I think this was great. Definitely go and watch the interview. Let's see how the Lakers do. Hopefully they bounce back and they do very well. I'm rooting for them. Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed I get another championship. I do want to see LeBron get another championship, I think. He's worked super hard. Obviously, longevity is ridiculous. A number of points that he has, ridiculous. Number one scorer of all time, right? The GOAT, I don't know. Debatable. He's up there, though. He's up there in the conversation. I think you got to go by eras. All right, guys. That brings us to the end of our video. If you liked that video and you found value in it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because we're dropping new videos every week, and I don't want you to miss it. I appreciate you watching till the end. Till the next time.